Good evening, and once again welcome to this wonderful retreat. Such a beautiful location. I mean, you just have to turn around and look back behind you. You can see outside the glass windows. As we were driving up this evening, early this evening, Dr. Bhatt was driving me up, and like all of you, I came through this pretty dense forest. Quite a long drive from the gate to this place. And I was thinking, I was reminded of an ancient name for Vedic knowledge. You see, a part of the Vedas are called Aranyakas, the forest books. So today we are going to study the forest text in its appropriate setting in this pristine, dense forest. Though we are oceans and continents away in space and millennia, thousands of years away in time from the place where these thoughts first dawned upon humanity. On the banks of the Saraswati River, the Ganges in India, thousands of years ago. So Vedanta, that's what we're going to study in this retreat. And we're going to take up one particular text, which I hope you've all got a copy of this text, Drigdrishya Viveka. But this evening's talk is more of an opening, an introduction, something that will lead on to this text which we are going to study. Vedanta, most of you are veterans in Vedanta. You actually have been at it longer than I have. And we know Vedanta means literally is it not clear? Too loud? Vedanta means Veda and Anta. Veda, the ancient scriptures of the Hindus, probably the scriptures of the oldest living religion on this planet, and there's something else outside. And Anta means the end, but it does not literally mean the end of the Vedas, not in the sense of the physical end. Though sometimes the core Vedanta texts are located at the end of the Vedas, but literally it means the supreme knowledge that you find in the Vedas, the highest teaching of the Vedas, the final teaching of the Vedas. So that is the Vedanta. And the portions of the Veda where we find these Vedantic texts are called the Upanishads. These Upanishads are the core texts of Vedanta. In fact, a definition of Vedanta is Vedanta Nama Upanishad Pramana. Literally translated, it means Vedanta is the source of spiritual knowledge called Upanishads. The source of spiritual knowledge called Upanishads is Vedanta. Literally. So these texts or what they teach, is Vedanta. Now these texts, Upanishads, are scattered in the four Vedas, Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, Atharva Veda, the four Vedas of the Hindus. These Upanishads are scattered and they are numerous. We have at least more than a list of more than 100 authentic Upanishads, and they are supposed to have been more than 1,000 Upanishads. Some are lost, some are of dubious authenticity. But in one of the Upanishads themselves, the Muktika Upanishad, we find a list of 108 Upanishads. And among these Upanishads, 10 are very important. These 10 are important because about 14 centuries ago, the great Vedantic philosopher, Adi Shankaracharya, he selected these 10 to write his commentaries upon. So he selected 10 Upanishads. And these 10 have become the foundation of Vedanta. So what are these 10? Isha Upanishad, Kena Upanishad, Katha Upanishad, Prashna Upanishad, Aitreya Upanishad, Mundaka Upanishad. Okay, let me put it this way. Mundaka Upanishad, there is a reason why I am doing this, and Mandukya Upanishad, Taittiriya Upanishad, then Aitareya Upanishad, then Chandogya Upanishad, and finally Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Here in fact you see that old name, Aranyaka, forest god, or something that belongs to the forest. So Aranyaka, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. The reason I've written them in this order is that there is a verse which Vedantic students use in the Himalayas to memorize the names of these Upanishads. So it goes like this. Isha Kena Katha Prashna Mundamandokya Titirihi Aitareyam Cha Chandogyam Brihat Aranyakam Tatha. So it's easy to memorize the names. Now, among all of them, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad is of course the largest, closely followed by the Chandogya, and the Mandukya Upanishad is the smallest, supposed to be the most powerful, the smallest, only with 12 mantras. Now this literature is vast, and all of it has been compressed for our benefit. The essence has been extracted by none other than Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. So if you do not have the patience to go through all the Upanishads, and few Hindus have, very few Hindus have actually read the Upanishads, whereas most Hindus would have studied or know something of the Bhagavad Gita. So what you have in the Upanishads has been taken, the essence has been put into the Bhagavad Gita in the dialogue between man and God, between Arjuna and Krishna. And also there is another text called the Brahma Sutra. The aphorisms about Brahman. 3 texts. This set of texts called the Upanishads, especially the 10 major Upanishads, these are called the major Upanishads only because Shankaracharya selected them to write commentaries. And the Bhagavad Gita, which has the essence of the Upanishads, and Shankaracharya wrote commentary on this also, and the Brahma Sutra. Brahma Sutras are a set of 555 aphorisms, compact formulae, which are philosophical in nature. If you have questions, we have questions about what Upanishads teach or what is discussed in the Gita, those are discussed in the Brahma Sutras, philosophically discussed, based on reasoning, argumentation. So these 3 texts are regarded as the foundational texts of Advaita Vedanta or Vedanta, regarded as the foundational texts of Vedanta. This is called technically Shruti. Shruti means that which is heard. This is technically called Smriti. Literally means something that's remembered or transmitted by memory. And Brahma Sutra is called Nyaya. Logic. Nyaya here stands for logic. So, Shruti Prasthana, Smriti Prasthana, Nyaya Prasthana. Prasthana is foundational text. So, Prasthana Trayam, Vedanta, these are the Sanskrit terms. Prasthana Trayam. Prasthana, foundation. Trayam, triple. These texts with their commentaries, along with their commentaries, are the triple foundation of Vedanta. And this is called Prasthana Trayam, the triple foundation. So, you want to know the original texts of Vedanta. These are the original texts of Vedanta. Now, these have been commented on by great philosophers over the ages. Shankaracharya commented on these, wrote extensive Sanskrit commentaries on these over 14 centuries ago. And that forms the basis of the system of Advaita Vedanta, non-dual Vedanta, which is one interpretation of these three texts. This set of texts. Actually, this is not one text, but many texts. Gita has some 700 verses. Ramanujacharya, about 4 centuries or 3 centuries after Shankaracharya, another great philosopher and saint in the south of India, he wrote commentaries on these, not individually on the Upanishads, but altogether. He wrote commentaries on the Upanishads, Smriti, on Gita and Brahma Sutra, and his commentaries form the basis of another system of Vedanta called Vishishtadvaita, qualified monism or qualified non-dualism. Then comes Madhvacharya, another great philosopher, maybe a couple of centuries after Ramanujacharya, who wrote commentaries on this, and his exposition, his interpretation forms the basis of what is called Dvaita Vedanta, dualism. So here you have Advaita, Vishishtadvaita, Dvaita, and there are other schools, Dvaita, Dvaita, Shuddha, Dvaita. Then there is the Achintya Bheda Ved of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. It may all sound incomprehensible and strange, but believe me, you have come across those chaps. They are the Hare Krishnas who sing and dance almost in every city of the world. Their philosophical background lies in one of these Vedanta schools called the Achintya Bheda Ved school, which is the philosophy of the Gaudiya Vaishnavism, Bengal school of Vaishnavism. That's one type of Vedanta. Basically, what are the differences in these schools? We'll just touch upon it and then go ahead. The Advaita Vedanta insists that you and God are one reality. It is one reality, Brahman, which appears as the limited individual being, as this world, and as God. But it's one reality, one undivided, non-dual reality. And Vishishtadvaita insists it's not non-dual, it's like the relationship is one of part and whole. Advaita Vedanta, it is identity, relationship of identity. You and God are one and same reality. Vishishtadvaita, part and whole. By which they mean we and this universe, these are all parts of God. And God is the whole, of which everything is a part. It's like the relationship you bear to the different parts of your body. I have hands and feet and head, and they are all different from each other. But they are all united in an organic unity because they all form part of my body. In the same way, all of us, living beings, sentient beings, and all the insentient matter in this universe, it forms part of the body of God. So it's a unity with parts. That's Vishishtadvaita. Dvaita insists, no, they're not part of one unity. They're different. God and humans are different. God is omnipotent, omniscient, all-powerful, omnipresent, and the ruler of the universe. And we are weak and helpless, and we are subject to birth and death, and we are the ruled. So it's a relationship of master and servant, the ruler and the ruled. So we are different. So they uphold difference. And all this from the same texts. So you can imagine the amount of interpretation that has gone into it. Now our immediate question will be, which one is correct? And they have fought for centuries. They fought for at least 700 to 800 years. And there's a vast body of literature. It's good that they have fought over it because their fighting has been a kind of philosophical fighting. And because of that, Indian philosophy has been enormously enriched. You have this vast body of thought. And depending on your personal inclination, you will have a ready-made system and a philosophy and scriptures all ready for you. If you are devotional by temperament, this might suit you more. If you are philosophical and devotional by temperament, this might suit. These are all paths of bhakti. This is the path of knowledge. So these are various paths which are there. But I personally like Sri Ramakrishna's attitude. So this was the unique genius of Sri Ramakrishna. He tells the story of Hanuman, the devotee of Lord Rama. Once Lord Rama asked Hanuman, "What do you think of me?" So God is asking the creature, "What do you think of me?" And Hanuman's reply is very interesting. I'll give you the Sanskrit first for the flavor of the original and then translate. Hanuman said, "Deha buddhya dasoham, jiva buddhya tvadangsha, atma buddhya tvamevaham iti me nishchitamati." Lord, as this body, Hanuman, this being Hanuman, I am thy servant, thou art my Lord. I am always thy servant. As a sentient creature residing in this body, I am a part of thee. Thou art the whole, I am thy part. And as the pure consciousness, which is the witness of this body and mind, Atma, you and I are one and the same. This is my conclusion. Which one is correct? This is my conclusion. All of them are correct. From which, where are you? It depends on where you are standing. Where you take your stand. Whenever, even after all this knowledge that you and I are one, this is the beauty of it. When I know you and I are one, when I can say Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. But after that, when I act through this body, I'm not going to act like Brahman. I am the servant of the Lord, always. In this body. In knowledge, in spiritual knowledge, I know I am one with God. When I act in this world, I act as the servant of the Lord. What a beautiful synthesis. And Sri Ramakrishna approved of this approach to it. Instead of fighting, instead of saying this is correct or that is correct, they're all correct. You can also say they're all incorrect, because after all, you're trying to understand the infinity, an infinite reality. These are all approaches to that. But our approach over the next few days will be firmly here. With apologies to Ramanujacharya and Madhvacharya, we are not going to, we'll touch upon them once in a while, but this is going to be our approach, because this book is firmly in the tradition of Shankaracharya. So this is what we are going to follow, but I wanted you to know the background of this. Hinduism is vast, Vedanta is vast, like an ocean. So there are many streams flowing into it. This is one approach, maybe the most popular, maybe the most rational, scientific, maybe the most reasonable approach, most attractive, but still one of them. And there are followers of all the other schools also. And each of these schools has produced saints and sages. Right. Now, having said that, then from this point of view, what do the Upanishads say? What does Vedanta say? Can you tell us in one sentence what Vedanta says? Yes, we can tell you. Vedanta speaks about the identity of Jiva and Brahman. Jiva, who is this weird character called Jiva? It's you, the individual. Any sentient being, human beings, the squirrels or the loons out there in the lake, they're all Jivas. And Brahman, the ultimate reality spoken about by the Upanishads, existence, consciousness, bliss, or what have you. That ultimate reality and the individual being, they are one and the same. This is what the Upanishads say. And this is expressed in what is called the Mahavakya. Sanskrit, Mahavakya literally means, Maha means great, Vakya means sentence. The great sentences selected from one from each of the Vedas, which express this identity, Jiva Brahman identity, which speak of the identity of God and man, of the human and the divine. Those sentences selected to represent the essence of the teaching of Vedanta. So there are 4 of them, one from each of the Vedas. Actually, there are many of those sentences in the Upanishads. All the Upanishads try to express this. So you would expect many such sentences in the Upanishads. But just for this, as a formality, one is taken from each of the Vedas. So first, most famous, that thou art, tat tvam asi, that thou art. Okay, this is one, tat tvam asi. This has been taken from the Chandogya Upanishad, 6th chapter, Chandogya Upanishad 6th chapter, and it means that thou art. Swami Vivekananda often quoted this, and many Vedanta teachers start with this, that thou art. It's the most well-known of the Mahavakyas. Chandogya Upanishad is part of the Sama Veda. Of the 4 Vedas, the Sama Veda, Chandogya Upanishad comes, and so the representative Mahavakya from Sama Veda is Tat Tvamasi. Tat means that, Tvam means thou, Asi art. That thou art. What is that? Brahman. The divine, God, spirit, ultimate reality. Tvam, you, I, each of us. Very simple and quite unmistakable, non-compromising, straight up. So that's one of them. Another equally famous Mahavakya, great sentence is Aham Brahmasmi. This one is from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Aham Brahmasmi. What does it mean? Aham means I. Brahma means Brahman. This one, Brahman. Asmi means am. I am Brahman. Aham Brahmasmi. And this is especially dear to us in the Ramakrishna order because the different monastic orders in Dashtami Sampradaya, we have our own Mahavakyas, great sentences, which we are supposed to contemplate upon. So this is ours, Aham Brahmasmi, in the Ramakrishna order. I'm not divulging any top secret tickets. Scholars of Vedanta know this. Aham Brahmasmi would be for our order. There are things which are top secret. In the process of sannyasa, giving monastic vows, there is a particular text which is known only to sannyasis. And now don't ask me what it is, because the tradition goes, if you but once hear that, you have to become a monk or a monk. So there are people in the Himalayas, very simple villages, who are terribly scared of monks because they know that they have at least one power which they can exercise on. I don't know if this guy has got any supernatural powers, but at least one power. He can tell me the text and then I have to give up my wife and children and my farm and go out and become a monk. So that's the reverence in which that text is held. Aham Brahmasmi. That is from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, and Brihadaranyaka Upanishad is from the Yajur Veda. So the Yajur Veda Mahavakya is Aham Brahmasmi. Then there is another one, Prajnanam Brahma. Remember, this is Brahma, not Brahma. Brahma is a deity. The creator of the universe is a particular deity. But Brahma here is because of Sanskrit grammar, you can't write Brahman. It means the ultimate reality. So, Prajnanam Brahma. This is from the Aitareya Upanishad, this one. And this is Upanishad found in the Rig Veda. In the Rig Veda. What does it mean? Exactly the same as the other two. Prajnana, don't be scared about this term. Prajnana means the consciousness which we feel within ourselves now. Nothing very spiritual about it. The consciousness that we feel right now, the consciousness which you are using to listen to me and understand my words, by which you can see me, by which you can hear my words, and by which you can think about it. That consciousness which we have within us, that consciousness is actually Brahman, the ultimate reality. How we shall see. So this is the meaning of the Mahavakya from Aitareya Upanishad, which is Rig Veda. And then finally you have another Mahavakya, the last one of the four, and that is Ayam Atma Brahma. This is from the Mandukya Upanishad. This is from the Mandukya Upanishad. And the Mandukya Upanishad is found in the Atharva Veda, the fourth Veda. So this Mahavakya, what does it mean? Exactly the same thing as the other three. Ayam means this. Atma means self. Brahman means the ultimate reality. So this very self, if you take your thumb and point it towards yourself, this very self is Brahman. Ayam Atma Brahma. And this is the Mahavakya from the Mandukya Upanishad. All of them, as you can see, are saying the same thing, one and the same thing, that you are Brahman. Now, this is the core message of the Upanishads. In the Upanishads, it starts with questions. Students go to the teachers and ask questions. In the Mundaka Upanishad, we find Shaunaka. There is a beautiful passage there. It says, Shaunako havai mahashalo angirasam vidivadupasannappa pracha. Shaunaka, the name of the disciple, and an interesting description. Mahashala. Mahashala literally means a person who has huge sacrificial altars. Now remember, this hails back to the days of the ancient Vedas, the earliest form of the Hindu religion, where there were no big temples. They had, the religion then was fire sacrifices, where you offered butter or other things into the fire to please the Vedic gods. That was the conventional religion of those days. Now, a person who had personal big fire altars would be a rich person. Way to describe a successful and religious man of the world, Mahashala, one who has many big fire altars. Now, it's interesting that Shaunaka, a spiritual seeker, is described as a person who has made his way in the world, who is successful and a religious person in the world. Then he gets a spiritual question. And what is the question he asks in the Mundaka Upanishad? Here. He goes to the teacher, the Rishi, and asks this question. Kasminnu bhagavo vigyate sarvamidam vigyatam bhavatiti. Sanskrit itself is beautiful. Don't be intimidated by the Sanskrit. I'll keep chanting it once in a while just to get a flavor of the ancient language. And when we study the Drigdrishya Viveka, I suggest you all keep one of these with you so that you can use it to chant. Repeat after I chant it. Now the question, what does it mean? Sir, what is that by knowing which I can know everything in this universe? What a strange question. And the answer given by the Rishi is equally strange. He says, instead of telling him outright that it is Brahman, by knowing Brahman you will know everything. Look at the track he takes. Dve vidye veditavye itihasmayad brahma vido vadanti parachaiva paracha. The Rishi says, the sage says to this man who asks him, what is that knowledge by which I can know everything? He says, first, know that knowledge is of two types. Instead of telling him straight away, he says, knowledge is of two types. What are the two types of knowledge? Transcendental knowledge and relative knowledge. Or you can say spiritual knowledge and empirical knowledge or relative knowledge. Para literally translates into transcendent, that supreme knowledge, the knowledge of the beyond. And apara, that which is not transcendent, that which relates to here and now, this world. And then he gives a list. What do you mean by aparavidya, relative knowledge? And he gives this whole university syllabus. Now, first of all, he says to the student, Tatra pararig veda yajurveda samaveda atharvaveda shiksha kalpa vyakaranam niruktam chando jyotishamiti. whatever was being studied in those days, before Vedas, whatever knowledge they had, all the texts they had, and the ancillary things like poetics and grammar and astronomy and things like that, all of that. You might wonder why were they studying astronomy? Well, because it was related to their religion too. Because they had to perform certain fire sacrifices at particular hours. That's the kind of ritual they had to perform. So they had to have a good knowledge of time. And that they knew by following the planets and the stars and things like that. All the knowledge available in that society, the sage tells this person, all of that is relative knowledge, secondary knowledge, worldly knowledge, empirical knowledge. But then the person must be confused. You have included all the religious and spiritual books also in secondary knowledge. Then what is the highest knowledge? What is the transcendent knowledge? Parayaya tadaksharam adhigamyate. The transcendent knowledge is that by which the literal word used is akshara. The imperishable is attained. Which is Brahman, imperishable. Now see how he has made a distinction between all kinds of knowledge and spiritual knowledge. Otherwise, one might think, okay, it's one kind of knowledge, I have to know this. I can sign up for a Vedanta course and come to Loon Lake for a course and then I'll be enlightened. Not so fast, because all this is there, but the sages classified it under aparavidya, relative knowledge, not transcendent knowledge. In the Chandogya Upanishad, the teacher, who happens to be the father of the student, Shvetaketu is the student, the teacher asks the boy, in your school, did they teach you that by which knowing which you can know everything? Same question, you see. Eka vijnanena sarvamidam vijnatam bhavati. By one knowledge, everything here in this universe becomes known. And his son is puzzled. If you have one knowledge, you know that subject. By knowing chemistry, you know only chemistry. By knowing biology, you know only biology. By knowing chemistry, you don't know everything in the universe. Though today professors of physics might dispute that. They say by knowing physics, you know everything in the universe. So that is the question. That is the question that is raised in the Upanishads. Kena Upanishad. Kene shitam padati preshitam mana. Kena prana prathama preti yukta. Kene shitam vachamimam vadanti. Chakshu shrotram kaudeva yunakti. Sir, the student asked the question. Look at the sophistication of the question. Sir, what is that light within which inspires my thoughts? So many thoughts come to me throughout my life, throughout my days. Thoughts, ideas, memories, desires, love, hate, frustration, exultation. All these things come in my mind. All the time they are flowing through my mind. From whence do they come? In what light do these thoughts shine? What prompts my life? What instigates my eyes to see? What enables my eyes to see? What enables my ears to hear? Eyes to give me the first person experience of seeing. Ears to give me the first person experience of hearing sounds. How do these words which are coming out of me, what is the source? How is it uttered? Look at the sophistication of the question. Today, in the 21st century, consciousness studies is just beginning to ask this question. It's a science in its infancy, consciousness studies. Scientists are saying that we do not even have the right questions yet. One Swami, who is a mathematician, we're talking about this approach to consciousness studies and its possible relation to Vedanta. And this Swami said to me dismissively, I don't regard consciousness studies as a real science. I said, why not? Remember, he's a mathematician. So, a pure mathematician. So, pure mathematician is a person who holds every other branch of knowledge in contact. It's only Hardy, who sponsored Ramanujan to come to Cambridge in, the great mathematician. So he was asked, what is the application of all these things? What application do your theories have? All this mathematics, abstract mathematics you're doing. And Hardy said famously, I should hope they do not have any application. I would be appalled if they have any application. Pure mathematics is simply. So his response was, why don't you consider consciousness studies to be a science? He said, it's not a science until you can define the terms. You have not yet come to a proper definition of consciousness. Nobody agrees on what is consciousness. So, how does first person experience take place? They call it the problem of qualia. They call it the qualia. You just Google this, these two terms. This is supposed to be the hard problem of consciousness today, right now. Hard problem in the sense that the scientists have no idea even how to tackle this problem. Also Google this person, Chalmers. He is the person who I think coined the term hard problem of consciousness. Anyhow, that's beside the matter. Look at this person who's asking a question maybe 40 centuries ago. What is this person asking? Is he asking about this thing? How does conscious experience take place? So, it starts with these questions. And the answers given are always the same. That there is an ultimate reality, which is existence, consciousness, bliss. If you know that, then your questions will be answered. By knowing that, everything is known. That is the secret of the universe. By knowing that your true self is known. The very essence of Vedanta is captured in certain texts, like I like this text from the Taittiriya Upanishad, 2nd chapter. It goes like this. In Taittiriya Upanishad there is a text which says, Brahma Vedapnoti Param. The knower of Brahman attains the ultimate. Very simple text. The knower of Brahman attains the ultimate, or attains the highest or the supreme. Now immediately you have questions. What is this Brahman? And how do you know Brahman? And what do you mean by attaining the highest? What is the prize that is being promised? What will you get by knowing this? And the next few lines in that Upanishad, in that section, give answers to these three questions. What is Brahman? How do you know Brahman? And what is the result of it? What actually do we get out of all of this? What is Brahman? And a beautiful definition. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Brahman is infinite existence and consciousness. Satyam, pure existence. Jnanam, pure consciousness. Anantam, infinity. So you might say, Swami, that sounds pretty profound, but what does it mean? I refer you to my talk, my lecture, Definition of God. It's on YouTube. It will take 1.5 hours to talk about these three lines. Yes, Shankaracharya writes 2-3 pages of dense philosophical commentary in Sanskrit to explain this one sentence. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Brahman is infinite existence and consciousness. Shankaracharya's disciple, Sureshwaracharya, another great Advaita master, he writes, I counted, more than 250 verses to explain this little sentence. And you will require long commentaries to explain each of those verses. But the point there is, the next sentence explains how do you know Brahman? This infinite Brahman, whatever it is, how do you know it? Because you're supposed to know Brahman. So how do you know it? And can you at all know it? The next sentence says, Yo Veda Nihitam Guhayam Parame Vyoman. Who realizes Brahman in the sacred space, in the cave of his heart. In the sacred space of the cave of his heart. Again, mystical language. We will see what it all means. At least these things will be clear at the end of the retreat. Now, what it means is, you have to realize Brahman as yourself. Let me repeat that. What it means is exactly these Mahavakyas. You are realizing Brahman in the sacred space of the cave of your heart, all that language, all it means is, you have to realize Brahman, you have to know Brahman as yourself. As I am Brahman. That is the knowledge that we are chasing. We must come to a realization, not just repeat it, not just read about it, but actually make it a living reality. that I am Brahman. So that is the knowledge which we are chasing. And what is the gain from all of this? The Upanishad says, Taittiriya Upanishad says, So ashnute sarvan kaman saha brahmana vipaschiteti. The person who realizes Brahman, who finds that I am Brahman and comes to such a realization, not just gives lectures about it, but actually becomes a living reality for that person. That person attains all human desires. All human desires. Now this takes some explanation. Does it mean that, look, I want the latest Tesla car and an iPhone 7 and a house in Malibu and things like that? If I have a list of things, if I realize Brahman, will I get all of them together? That's not what is meant. What is meant there is, why do you want all of these things? From the candy that you pestered your mom for, to the multi-million-dollar home in the Bay Area, which you are looking forward to, if you are. Don't, but if you are. All of these, why do people want these? Because they feel they will be happy. They will be satisfied. If I get that, I will really, really be happy. We have a feeling right there, deep inside us. To get permanent satisfaction, ultimate satisfaction, and to overcome our sorrows, overcome our frustration, our misery. This is the goal of human life. However you put it, you may see any human endeavor, from the child to the Nobel Prize winning professor, to the president of a country, to a homeless person on the streets of LA, anybody in any sphere of human life, all they are trying to do is be happy, overcome suffering. These are the two things that they are trying to do. And what they promise is, if you realize yourself as Brahman, then these two will be achieved. You will really, really be happy, unshakably so. You will get ultimate satisfaction and peace and completely overcome all suffering for all time to come. Remember, it does not mean you're going to overcome the disease in the body, that I might be 80 years old, but so after realizing Brahman, I'll look 20. No! Disease and death are part of the natural process of the body. But what they promise is, the suffering that comes to us through that, we will be able to say with full confidence that I do not suffer. In reality, I know that the body is sick. I know the body is old. I know that there are failures in life and so on and so forth. But I also can see in what sense I am above all of it. Sri Ramakrishna was suffering from cancer. And Hari Maharaj, Swami Turiyananda, he comes and asks Sri Ramakrishna, Sir, how are you today? Throat cancer. And Sri Ramakrishna says, oh, because of this I cannot eat. I am in so much pain. And Hari Maharaj says something strange. He looks at Sri Ramakrishna and he says, but I see you are in great bliss. Now that's a cruel thing to say to a cancer patient. But Sri Ramakrishna says immediately, he bursts into laughter and he says, the rascal has caught me out. He has found me out. And he knows my true attitude towards this. You know, he knows that I really am above this. I can transcend that pain. We have seen it. I have myself seen it in the lives of some of the great Swamis whom I have seen personally. How they can overcome suffering just like that. And not just in the case of a person who is highly advanced spiritually. You know, in Hindi they say in India, "Pahuche hue Mahatma." Highly advanced spiritually, not only in them, but anybody who has cultivated this for a long time, even though they might not be fully enlightened as yet. I mean, I have myself seen something very interesting. We have a hospital in Calcutta, where the main monastery is located. And in that hospital, there's one ward where the old Swamis, the Swamis who are sick, they are treated there, they're admitted there. Those who require serious treatment there, operation, things like that, surgery. This hospital is called Seva Pratishthan. It's in Calcutta. Now, one thing I noticed was, and there are all these other wards where there are hundreds of other patients, and all the wards, there was kind of gloominess. It's suffering, pain, in many cases, disease which will not be cured. It can be managed, and the people know this. So you can feel it in the other wards. But when you come to the Premananda ward, the ward where the Swamis are, that's also the same people. Some old men are just lying there, and they are probably not going to get much better. Maybe they're going to die very soon. But there is a peace and joy there. There is a lightness there, which I have clearly noticed. So, if you cultivate Vedanta for a long time, you get that feeling. Now, I want to make a couple of quick points before I throw this open for questions. See, here is what I've been driving towards. We have to realize that I am Brahman. We have to realize that I am Brahman. This is the knowledge we are cultivating. Now what happens? The moment you say I am Brahman, the first objection will be, just a minute, I am not Brahman, I am Swami Sarvapriyananda. Or I am Mr. So-and-so or Mrs. So-and-so. I am not Brahman, I can be anything but not Brahman. I don't feel very Brahman-like. So when we look at ourselves, we do not consider ourselves to be Brahman. So what does it mean to say that I am Brahman? What Vedanta claims is that we are thoroughly mistaken about ourselves. We do not know who or what we truly are. So in order to realize this, that you are Brahman, Tattvamasi, or Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman, in order to realize this, what must we first do? We must first clear up the confusion about ourselves. That thou art, but which you? You are Brahman, but which you? This body sitting there on the chair there, is that Brahman in what, or in what sense? I am Brahman, but which I? What is the I that they are talking about? Is it the one which my passport or my driving license speaks about? That I? This person who was born the son of so-and-so in a place in India is about so many years old. This is the description. Is that Brahman? So, what am I? Who am I? That is the question which has to be answered first, before we come to the realization that I am Brahman. Let me repeat that. The Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta, teaches you are Brahman. But before you go to that, we must first clarify what is meant by you. Who am I? That is the question to be answered. You have to start there. And that is why I have selected this book, Drigdrishya Viveka. Where does it come in this pantheon of Vedantic texts? So, these are the original texts. They are vast and difficult. In order to make them easy, introductory texts were written by masters of non-dualism, Advaita masters, in the centuries after Shankaracharya. Vedanta Sara, Vivek Chudamani. Shankaracharya himself wrote quite a few. Vivek Chudamani, Atma Bodha, then your Upadesha Sahasri. And the other well-known Vedantic introductory texts are Vedanta Sara, Vedanta Paribhasha, Aparoksha Anubhuti, which again Shankaracharya wrote, Drigdrishya Viveka, Panchadashi. So many wonderful Vedantic texts are there. Now I have selected this because it's small and powerful, a very potent text, and it starts with this question, who am I? And answers it in the very first verse. In fact, I will not take it up today because it requires a lot of alertness and focus. You've all journeyed for long hours, and it's evening, we have had supper, so I'm not going to go into that. We will do this text over the next 3 days, 3.5 days. And this text actually concludes in text number 31, I think. Yes, 31. So we will do up to that, and the rest is a kind of addendum, an extra, a bonus that's added there. I'll quickly cover the remaining text up to 46. 46 is the last verse, but up to 31 is the main body of the text. That's what we'll concentrate on starting tomorrow. What does it deal with? Who am I? Why is that important? Who am I has to be clarified in order to realize that real I to be Brahman. What is the point of realizing that? The point is to overcome all suffering, no less than attainment of ultimate bliss. So that is the not very small agenda in front of us. over the next few weeks. And just an additional note, you might say note of caution. Most of us here are initiated devotees. We have got a mantra from a guru and we practice that. So we already have certain Vedanta practices. Now, what is the role of that in this scheme of things? One must not be overcome by enthusiasm. This sometimes has the effect. If you begin to get it, it's so thrilling. It's such a revelation that one unwise step is to abandon all other practices and come to this alone. Don't do that. What you have been practicing, what the Guru has taught you, those who have got initiation into a mantra, please go on practicing. And the second thing is the temptation to tamper with your practices. Okay, the Guru gave me this 20 years ago, but now that I've got this nice new updated version. Let me modify what the Guru has given. Don't tamper with what the Guru has given. What the Guru has given has to be practiced exactly as the Guru has given it. In computer science they talk about a firewall. So you protect your systems with a firewall. So what the Guru has given is there in its own place. This we shall treat separately. We shall study this independently. What is the role of devotion? What is the role of karma yoga? What is the role of jnana yoga? Meditation? All those things will come up slowly. And I will also do it in a slightly different way in this retreat. We will go into the most important verse of this book tomorrow. That's the first verse. And spend quite a bit of time over it so that we absorb the meaning very clearly. We are absolutely clear about the meaning. Then we will jump ahead to almost the very end of the text, and there are certain meditative practices. We will learn that and try it out. Try to get a taste of what they are talking about. It's quite thrilling. And then we shall come back to the order of the text, and we shall study that. So that's what is there in front of us. We have some time for questions. If anybody has questions. Today I gave you a background. So the background for this text is all there in the background, and this is the text which we are going to take up. We know why this has come. What is the necessity of this text and where does it stand?
So I have a small question.
Yes.
So when you say Aham Brahmasmi,
yes.
When somebody is reaching that stage,
yes.
there is no Aham, because that is already dissolved. The ego has completely dissolved. So then there is no you and me and things like that. So then why is he also saying, in spite of that, he's saying Aham Brahmasmi? Is that after coming down?
That is true. After that realization. But what does it mean for the ego to dissolve? We'll all understand all that. In fact, all that will come here.
Yeah.
We'll very precisely understand these terms. After that, there will be no more confusion at least what happens after Brahma Jnana. Even if I do not get Brahma Jnana by day after tomorrow, but what exactly does it mean and what happens? So that we will be able to understand, definitely. That much I can promise. Enlightenment I can't promise. Yes. All the practices have to be continued. Somebody that you go and cut some wood, go into the forest, cut some wood and bring it back. That man, being lazy, he said, "Sir, what will we do with that wood?" Well, first you have to bring a lot of wood back, and then we have to light a big fire, and then we have to cook, and then, well, this is the forest, so you can't leave a big fire. You have to put the fire out after that. So, sir, if you're going to put the fire out ultimately, then why go into all the trouble? In the same way, if ultimately Brahman is beyond all practices, knowledge alone is required. By knowing Brahman, you become Brahman, or you realize yourself as Brahman. Why should I do unselfish work? It's a lot of trouble, karma yoga. Why should I meditate? Why should I worship God? If you're going to put out the fire anyway, why light the fire in the first place? Then you're going to go hungry. That's the thing. where we are stuck, we must unstick ourselves from that situation in order to realize every practice is relevant. But in the path of knowledge, where does devotion, bhakti come in? Where does karma yoga come in? Where does meditation come in? Those are the things to be understood. They do come in. There is a whole new approach, I would say new, which is popular in Europe, in some parts of USA also, where they say, following Ramana Maharshi and Nisargadatta and others, you are enlightened, you are Brahman. How? See it. And then you feel slightly bad because you are unable to see it. And you feel thoroughly confused. What shall I do? No, don't do anything. Doing anything will only delay your progress. Now that kind of thing, the traditional Advaita does not approve of that kind of thing. In the traditional Sanatana Dharma, every yoga had its place. Some might give primary importance to bhakti. Some might give primary importance to meditation. And in this part we give primary importance to knowledge. But here too, I will explain later on in the classes ahead, what good does meditation do? What good does love, bhakti do? What good does selfless service do? So they all have their role. And in traditional Vedanta, everything was included. They did not say, you need only to know that you are Brahman. But I can't know. No, keep quiet. You are Brahman. Then you feel thoroughly confused and a little disheartened. And also a little, you lose self-esteem. Well, I can't realize myself as Brahman. Something must be wrong with me. No, not that way.
You had mentioned that in the very olden days, so many centuries ago,
yes,
there were no temples.
Yes.
But there was fire worship done, and you mentioned
Yajna.
Yeah, and you said that
fire altars were there.
Fire altars.
Altars.
Could you describe that a little bit more?
Oh, I don't know much about it. That's an entirely different part of the Vedas. The fire sacrifices, see, it comes in this way. Just mention a few words and then start. The Vedas have two parts. Or let us say three parts. Jnana, Upasana, Karma. Here karma literally means work, but here it means, in the context of the Vedas, it means rituals. Upasana means worship or meditation. And jnana means knowledge, but spiritual knowledge. Knowledge of the self or knowledge of Brahman. Now what we are going to talk about, and we have been talking about this evening, is this. And this is found in the Upanishads, which are part of the Vedas. But there is, in fact, the bulk of the Vedas comprise of these. Karma and Upasana. In karma means rituals in the Vedas. In karma, you have various kinds of sacrificial rituals. The idea there was, there are various gods, not the ultimate reality God, not Brahman, but there are gods like Indra, Varun, Agni, who rule over different powers of nature. And if you want your worldly desires satisfied, then you have to please those gods. And the way to please those gods was, there would be a platform for performing rituals and fire. The idea was, whatever you offer into the fire with the appropriate chanting of the mantras and with appropriate reverence, that will go, the offering will go to the gods.
God with small g.
God with small g's, yes. Not Brahman, not the ultimate reality, not the God of religion. These are smaller powers. And they would grant you your desires. So that was the kind of belief they had in those days. So it was a religion, but a pretty worldly kind of religion also. Somebody wanted wealth, somebody wanted a kingdom to conquer, somebody wanted children, whatever. And they would try to please the gods. Which is sort of, it still survives today. In many temples, mosques, churches all over the world, people actually go and pray for things, worldly desires to be satisfied. They are not looking to realize Brahman. oh Lord, show me that I am Brahman. No. Oh Lord, let me get a job. Or if you are particularly mean, let that person lose his job. Or something like that. And so on. Worldly desires. And so, depending upon the ritual, there were some simple rituals, there were some complicated rituals. So there were various kinds of platforms which were erected. It's a huge science. It's called Mimamsa, Purva Mimamsa. I know a little bit only with whatever I'm going to study. The problem with this is, most of it is obsolete today. Why is it obsolete? It has been replaced by the modern kind of Hinduism which you see. Today if you go to see a Hindu temple in any part of the world, you will see many deities and worship going on, offering of food offerings, flowers, water is being poured and Sanskrit mantras are being chanted. That's what you see. So these fire sacrifices were replaced by puja. What you do here, for example, it's a puja. A puja is a worship of God. And that can be done for worldly things and that can be done for spiritual things also. So the old fire rituals have sort of become obsolete. They still survive, nothing ever entirely becomes obsolete in India. So they still survive in big pujas. One part of it will be the homa, the fire. You see it in some of the Vedanta societies when you perform it. On the birthday of Sri Ramakrishna or something, a homa fire is lit. That is a remnant of the ancient Vedic fire rituals. Instead of a platform, now they have a homa kunda, a metal tray on which the fire is lit. Alright, thank you.